What's going on, guys? Gary with Ras Group, back in another video. So today we're going to be, I don't want to say we're going to get a little bit spicy, but there's been a lot of talk lately about how competition shooting is somehow detrimental to gunfighter. I completely disagree with that statement. Instead of calling anybody out, even though I rightfully should, because putting bad information out into the culture should be called out, should be, put on blast. All that stuff should be happening. But instead of doing that, we're going to try to argue some logic. But before I do that, I'm going to get something off my chest. Because in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, I find myself getting wrapped up with a bunch of people that, either are completely misguided or they know that the information they're putting out is bad and they don't care because they're collecting a paycheck. Either way, it's very frustrating to see this and I don't even care about the people that are, as far as personally, I don't care about the people that are making money. I care that they're making money, and it's because the real victims here are the students. Let's not forget that across all of this, the only people that truly matter in this are the students that you are giving education to, right? And if you're not giving them the best, most current, up-to-date information, or even if you're not giving them information that's backed by a sense of logic and a solid train of thought, shame on you, right? And this video is for those people that are constantly preying on the training culture, putting out bad information, not putting the work in, not even doing the research, and telling people to avoid competition shooting. Well, lucky for you guys, I have 4 bullet points today we're going to hammer through that shows why competition shooting will save your life. All right, bullet point number 1. So everybody says that there's a distinction between gunfight and competition, right? That's the big argument I hear, and usually it comes from a place of emotion. Well, that's not how it's done in the real world. This is usually coming from people that have never actually been in a gunfight, right? So let's stop that argument entirely, right? It's an emotionally charged thing where it's coming from a lack of skill and ability, and they don't want to put their skill and ability out there for other people to evaluate or judge. So what they're doing is they're giving you an emotional, anecdotal argument as far as well, that's not real world. That's not. It's it's just gamer shit. That's competition shooting. Okay, great. So let's break down what a gunfight is, right? A gunfight, I'm not Webster's dictionary, but I'm going to try my best here. A gunfight is kind of a matchup of your skill, ability, intellect, and grit against another human being, right? Your ability to run that gun with a better intellect and more grit than they have. Okay, are the stakes higher in a gunfight? Absolutely, right? We're talking about life and death stuff. Isn't a competition a comparison of those exact same things? I would say so. The reality is a competition shows you where you stack up to your peers, right? Are they faster than you? Are they more accurate? Do they have a better way of efficiency of getting from one set of targets, or we'll even go gunfighter terminology here, a set of threats compared to somebody else? I think that this is an important distinction to make, that a gunfight is in fact a competition. It's just a lot higher stakes. The crazy part is that a competition is almost giving you free reps at simulating something that could very well someday be a life or death thing, right? I believe there is I don't know if he's a grandmaster or a master, somebody in Brazil, that 2 people tried to hold him up at gunpoint. He ended up killing one and injuring another. I would say that is a very good representation of competition shooting setting you up for success in a gunfight, right? Another thing I want to point out with this is that the adrenaline dump factor, right? If you are any type of type A personality, any sort of type A personality, you feel an adrenaline dump and a rush when that shot timer goes off and everybody's watching you. Everybody, right? Because it's not as simple as, I'm just going to shoot these targets. No, you're directly being judged, and not just by a shot timer, by all your peers around you. They are going to decide where you stack up in their mind. How good of backup are you? How good of a gunfighter are you? And this is their best direct comparison, right? So if you are somebody that is, training for the sake of defensive, a defensive mindset, and you're not really about, you don't really want to chase that grandmaster title, you don't really want to chase competition wins, you don't want to chase match wins, whatever, that's fine. But you should still be doing matches, because that's setting you up for the best comparison you could have to a gunfight, right? Because you don't get to practice a gunfight in real life multiple times. You get one chance, right? It's your cold performance. What do you think every single stage in a match is? It's a cold performance, right? Because you don't get to do the stage over again. You get one chance. So, and that's going to get brought up again later, because everybody says, well, you get to walk stages, you get to do this, and you don't get to do that in the real world. Well, that's funny, because the people that argue that are also very big on military training, and we're going to get to that in a second. But on to my next point. All right, point number 2. The dangerous competition shooting that everybody talks about is actually a great encouragement of 2/3 of the gunfighter mantra, right? To shoot, move, communicate. It's weird to me. Sorry. Oh, burpees. It's weird to me that all of these gunfighter instructors are very quick to dismiss something that would encourage you to do 2/3 of those, the shoot and move portion, right? And everybody's going to say, well, I see competition shooters just stand still and shoot all the time. No, what you're probably seeing is a classifier, right, to help people understand kind of what your baseline ability is. Or you're watching an IDPA stage where there's not usually a ton of shooting and moving. I'll give you that. IDPA kind of sucks. But also, USPSA is a great representation of shoot and move. If you just stand still in one spot in USPSA, you're not going to shoot all the targets on a stage. I can promise you that. So, and that includes not only like moving to position and then shooting, but also shooting on the move, right? That really tests your raw ability, because again, we're talking about cold performance here. You don't get to practice shooting, walking and shooting a whole shit ton. You can't walk over to the safe area and just dry fire walking and shooting. Nope, whatever you got is whatever you're bringing to the table. That's it. So I don't understand why there's this big pushback against something that encourages 2/3 of what the gunfighter mantra is, and also encourages this whole idea of performance on demand, right? Because let's be honest, we've already established that a gunfight is a competition, very high stakes competition. But why not do something that gives you that one chance and one chance only to show you where you stack up, just like a real world gunfight would? I don't understand, right? And this is where I start to really question these instructors that are very, that's gamer shit, whatever this. Well, that's funny, because I can't seem to find the practice score count, which tracks most major competitions. I can't seem to find that for a lot of these instructors, which tells me that they probably have never tried competition because they're scared to get judged by their peers, by the rest of the shooting community. All of these things that kind of play into ruining someone's reputation and ego if you've been inflating it for too long. Okay, now let's talk about some actual quantifiable metrics here, not just logic, right? I think I've beat the logic portion into the ground pretty hard. I'll probably bring a little bit more logic back, because the biggest piece of evidence to me that competition shooting can save your life is actually found in how we score in competition. It's more in USPSA than IDPA, but bear with me. Let's walk through this together. This is a USPSA target. As you can see here, we have a A zone, a C zone, a D zone, Delta, Charlie, Alpha, and then we have an A zone surrounded by a Charlie zone in the head box. Now, why is this important? Well, in USPSA, we have these scoring zones for a reason. Alphas are 5 points, Charlies are 3, Deltas are 1, misses are -10. So for everybody talking about round accountability, that's pretty big accountability to have -10 points for completely yeeting a round off of a target, right? You're not going to do well. That sets you up for some pretty severe penalties. Well, why does this matter? Why is this important? Well, I want you to take a look at the size of this target, right? Pretty anatomically, correct to like a human-sized person, right? I'm a bigger dude. Like, I'm not like super large, but I'm definitely on the pudgier side, and I'm like 5'9". So like, I don't know, like probably American average. Definitely not like in great shape, but American average, right? Now, let's take a look at this. All right, hopefully you guys are still bearing with me. The sun is disappearing a little bit, but hopefully you can still see this. Hopefully there's enough light here. So now we have this. Now, please excuse my rough drawing. But as you can see, if we lay out the human body and some of the major organ systems, we got heart, lungs, kidneys, we got your aorta, your windpipe, we got your, central nervous system, i.e. brain, your eye sockets. Look at how the scoring zones match up with where these would be anatomically be on a human being. Pretty on point, right? You get max points for hitting major organ systems. And you get still points, but less points for hitting areas that are still impactful, but not quite as damaging. And you get minimal points for hitting on target, where you're still going to impact an opponent, but not necessarily incapacitate them, right? So you get max points for the more lethal shots you put on a target, right? The more gunfighter shots. Don't want to forget, we're making sure that we're including our gunfighter brethren in this, right? Don't forget that, very important. So this right here tells me that, okay, so if I were to superimpose the human body on a USPSA target, it's actually rewarding me for the most effective hits on somebody that I would have in real life. Very interesting. Let's take a look at something else. Something I see all the time in common gunfighter classes is the use of silhouette targets, large-scale silhouette targets, typically the NRA B-27 or a variation thereof. Well, I just happen to have some NRA B-27s. I also have a lot of USPSA targets. So I did a little one-to-one comparison here to show you guys how a full-size silhouette target is actually skewing what you believe to be effective and not necessarily in your best interest. Here, I have a NRA B-27 superimposed on a USPSA target. Now, I took some blue painter's tape and I outlined the scoring impact zones for you to show you where those zones still are in relation to the B-27, but on the USPSA target. So what we see here, right, and I tried to center this the best I could. It's kind of hard because the B-27 targets are a little awkward and they have more of a neck to them, where the USPSA targets are just kind of like shoulders to neck, built like me, you know what I mean? So I tried to do my best, but as we can see here, as far as the A zone, or what we now know to be based on the other target, where the large concentration of our vital organs are, really, if I were to center this up, you get the 10 ring and parts of the 9 ring. That's it, right? You don't get there's really not like a lot of effectiveness. Based on like how I superimpose this, it would be kind of half of the 10 ring, a portion of the 9 ring, and part of the 8 ring would be your scoring, right? So, but if we centered this up, like centered this into the A zone, then we're gonna have probably the entire 10 ring and parts of the 9 ring, with a large portion of the 9 ring now giving you Charlies. Now, if we keep on track with that and we continue to superimpose, like move this up to scale, right? Because I tried to do this as best I could, but it's not perfect. So then if we look at what the Charlie zone would be, you'd actually end up getting the 8 ring and part of the 7, I guess, but not really. Maybe. It really depends. And then also notice on an NRA B-27, there is no indicated scoring zones in the head box. So I did you guys a solid, and I superimposed with some blue painter's tape where the A zone of the USPSA is in the head box as well. But as you can see, a large portion of this target is cut off, right? There's not a ton of target of the B-27 left. A lot of it was shaved off to get it to fit this, and probably even more of it would be shaved off if I were to center it up. Now, why is this important? Well, seeing as how that's the target typically used, or a variation thereof, of the tactical gunfighter Delta Navy SEAL fucking, John Wayne Batman instructors, it's interesting to me that they have such a stressor on shot accountability and combat effectiveness. However, the targets they're using aren't reflecting the level of combat effectiveness that you actually see in competition. Competition shooting is actually giving you a more realistic representation of reward for combat effective hits than something like an NRA B-27 target. Kind of interesting, right? It's almost like competition shooting is really setting somebody up for success in a gunfight. Let's talk more. All right, hopefully you guys are bearing with me. I know this is a little bit of a longer video. I'm trying to talk fast. I'm trying to hammer through these points. We could expand upon all of this to nauseum, but no one wants to watch that. So, my last point. Competition shooting heavily influences the tactical community from the top down. The best shooters in the world, like the actual pipe hitters, the actual gunfighters, hire professional level shooters to teach them how to shoot better. They compete in competitions. This is a known fact. So, it's weird to me, the guys that were never, tier 1 pipe hitters, or even tier 2, 3, 4, tier 76, they weren't even that, but they're stressing this idea of self-defense and combat shooting, and that competition will get you killed. That's fucking weird to me, right? I digress. Let's keep going. So, let's look at my competition belt setup real quick. Okay, this is a howitzer battle comp belt. Very stiff, very rigid. And as you can see, this is very gamerish. I got a fucking magnet on here. I got my magazines. My mag pouch is waterfalling. Holsters on a hanger, and it's canted. What in the gamer shit is this, right? I got one of the dump pouches on here. This is the Velox one, so that I have a place to stow mags and carry extra mags when I'm training. Just very gamerish, right? This is absolutely just gross. Can't believe I own something so gamerish. All right, glad we got that gamer stuff out of the way. Don't want that around me for too long. Might catch something. Maybe I'll catch too many A-zone hits, make people real uncomfortable. Anyway, now let's look at my law enforcement belt setup, because that is my day job. That is what I do for 40 plus hours a week. Let's look at that. Whoa. What do you mean my magazine pouches are canted? Because not only are they more ergonomic and quicker to draw, but they also play nicer with body armor? That's crazy. What is this holster all canted and shit? You mean that sits better when riding in a vehicle, also more ergonomic, and gives me a more efficient and fluid draw stroke on a level 3 retention holster? That's crazy. Why is this holster on a holster hanger? So that I can better position it to my body and still maintain that fluid draw stroke? Wow. Holy shit. Maybe, just maybe, a lot of the stuff that we're doing in the self-defense or prepare for self-defense or combat or whatever, gunfight or whatever the fuck you want to call it, maybe all of this stuff is being trickled down to us from competition shooting. Maybe, right? Red dots on pistols. Where did we first see that? I think we first saw that in competition shooting. And I think that trickled down into modern day handguns where I don't think, well, there are some people that aren't carrying a dot anymore, but if you're not Amish and you can afford $250 to engage your vision, how your body wants to, how to view things and aim things, then you have a red dot, right? I think that started competition shooting. I'm not even going to talk about the benefits of how we learn how to actually run the guns, the shit that matters. A lot of that is being trickled down from old school GMs and new school GMs and guys finding the most efficient way to do things, whether it be reload, manage recoil, transition between targets, all of that stuff, right? I won't even talk about that. We'll just stick to the gear because I know that's probably as far as what most tactical instructors can understand. They don't understand how to run the gun because I watch their videos and they're not even using shot timers. They're not really doing anything. I'm very underwhelmed. So that being said, we'll stick to the gear because I know they can at least understand that, right? Okay, cool. Let's close this shit out. Guys, I can't stress to you enough how important it is to get yourself out there, get to a match, see where you stack up against your peers, especially in your local area, and hopefully even beyond that. For all of you guys that are being you know, indoctrinated into the school of thought that competition will get you killed in the streets, and that it's not. Oh, almost forgot to mention, for all you guys that like say like, well, the military this, military that, the military uses shoot houses to train CQB, and they run through it several times. So walking a stage before you shoot it, it's still very much applicable, and it also defeats your argument and your logic that walking a stage is somehow gonna set you up for no success in combat shooting, because you lean on the military and they also walk shoot houses and go through things ad nauseum and repetition. So please don't give me that argument, because it's already null and void. Okay, now let's actually close this shit out. I'm not even going to restart the camera. I was going to, but fuck it. If you're indoctrinated into this train of thought that like competition shooting isn't good for you, it's not beneficial, you're being lied to. Your money is being stolen. I'm not here to get internet clout. I could care less. I have like 2,700 followers on fucking Instagram. I'm not that guy, right? I'm not a household name. I'm nobody important. I have a small training business where I try to give the max value that I can to people. This is what I do. And to see people pay their hard-earned money, because let's face it, in the modern economy, there's not a ton of extra money to go around. There isn't. So if you give that money to somebody and you're getting no value or actual education out of it, that's a problem. If you leave a course and you don't have homework, that's a problem. If you leave a course and they're recommending that you just come back to them and they're not giving you a fucking list of reputable instructors across the country, they're stealing your money. There's a lot of red flags out there of how to spot somebody that's a fucking fraud. Okay? And there's a lot of them. The internet's giving a lot of people a voice that shouldn't fucking have one. And I say that with confidence. And I'm not saying like we should be gatekeeping, but I am saying if you hear bullshit, call it out. Easy money. I hope this video is of value to somebody. I hope that I can get somebody to see the light. If one person who thought competition shooting was dangerous watches this and understands that it's literally going to set you up for success, this whole video is worth it. Guys, be sure to check out the sponsors. We got Brownells, boom. Use code BOP10 over at checkout. We got Winchester Armament, we got Locks and Company Hair Products, Modern Material Rifles, we got Gorilla Gunworks Stippling, we got Crate Tactical Targets. All the targets that I did all this stuff on, you can see like 100% solid targets. I've been using them for years now. But guys, stay safe, stay trained, stay rad. I'll be back with the next one.